electioneering campaign or in an electioneering season, what you'll find is contenders and contestants of different elective positions coming out to ask the electorate to get them into certain positions. In other words, they tender their CVs or resume and ask to be taken into those positions via an election. And this, you can say, would be a form of application for those positions. Nigeria, again, is at the wake of another general elections come February 2023. We would be thronging the streets and polling stations where we would elect our president, governors, members of the legislative arm of government at the local, state, and federal levels. My name is Marshall Anthony Onoye, and this is We the People on Nwafolive. On today's edition of We the People, we would be talking about corporate governance at the workplace or the business environment and in governance. Welcome. Welcome back. Like I did say before the break, this is We the People, and today we'll be talking about corporate governance. And I've got me a very resourceful guest in the studio who will be doing justice to the topic of corporate governance, the Nigerian phenomenon. Today in the studio, I have me Pastor Adebisi Bismarck, right?
Yes.
Welcome,
yes.
sir.
It's nice to be
Good
here.
to have you, sir. A handshake wouldn't be out of place.
It's my first time on your station, and I think it's going to be interesting and exciting.
I'm elated to have you, sir.
Yes.
Yes. Now, you caught our attention when we thought about discussing corporate governance because you've been in that space where you advocate the need to do things in a very pragmatic way, and you have equally come up with, if you like, a manual for corporate governance in your book. What's the title?
Oh, the title of the book is to create awareness for people to know about corporate governance. It's Practical Guide to Corporate Governance.
Practical Guide to Corporate Governance. Looking at the Nigerian phenomenon, before I even go into the Nigerian phenomenon of corporate governance, we do know that when we speak about corporate governance, we're talking about how things should be strategically done in a corporate environment. But I always like to think of corporate governance from the angle of the public office, public space, because it's got the word governance in it. And I wouldn't want to isolate it from public office or, governance as it is, in as much as we're talking about corporate structure. But here I am talking about the public structure, talking about how the people are led. I was watching an interview with one of the contestants for the 2023 general election as the Labour Party presidential aspirant, and he was saying he is asking his employers, Nigerians, to review his CV and employ him. So that hit me, like Nigeria is actually a corporate entity. So when you look at the Nigerian phenomenon, the corporate space or the political space in Nigeria, how would you say that you expect us to bring in a little bit of corporateness in the way we run our system?
Well, you've asked a loaded question. I'll try to break it down so that the people listening to us can have a very good perspective of what we are discussing. Number one, you have to appreciate the fact that corporate governance is about the governance structure of companies. Now, many people don't know that the economic well-being of a country is not in government. It's in the private sector. Those companies,
the economic well-being
of a country is in the private government, is in the private sector. The government provides what you call enabling environment. Then the private sector takes over. The small scale, the medium scale, the large scale companies. What happens there determines the well-being of you and I. Majorly, the gross domestic product of a country is determined by the private sector. How many people can the state government employ? How many people can the federal government employ? How many people can the local government employ? Now, juxtapose it with the number of people that are employed by large-scale companies, medium-scale businesses, and small-scale businesses. In Nigeria, as we are speaking, we have aviation challenge, isn't it so? Mm-hmm. Okay, the aviation challenge is that you go to the airport, and to connect city from city, maybe you have to wait. Your flight is supposed to be 9 p.m. or 9 a.m. You are there for 5 hours. Do you know, between 1960 and today, in this Nigeria, at least 60 local airlines have gone under. Can you extrapolate the loss of income, the loss of business, employment, contribution to the aviation sector that happened? So when you have 60, remember Nigeria Airways was our flagship. Mm-hmm. It went under. Okada went. Oriental went. Sosoliso went. Chachenge went. 60 local airlines, minimum. I can tell you, between 1945 and today in Nigeria, over 200 commercial banks have gone under. Over 200 commercial banks, irrespective of how they were formed. I'll give you an example, okay? Western Region, National Bank went. Eastern Region, ACB went. There is a bank called Mercantile Bank from Cross River, went. Is it not so? Mm-hmm. Northern Region, Bank of the North, went. Gamji, went. Then let's talk about the private individuals that started their banks. UTB, Bank PHB, a big bank, Platinum Bank, Regent Bank, Alpha Merchant Bank for Africa. Those are banks that have gone under the radar. And what does that tell you? It means until you focus on this thing, this concept of corporate governance, the economy of Nigeria will not make the kind of progress that it ought to make. I was in a seminar yesterday at one of the big hotels in Lekki, and I don't mean to mention that hotel because they are not paying for advert space here. Okay, is society. We have a society called Society of Corporate Governance, our annual event, and one gentleman stood up and said, "You talk about corruption in the public sector." He said, "But corruption in the private sector is bigger than corruption in the public sector." And he said, "Okay, all of us, we've been talking about ideals. We're talking about making sure that you follow principles. Yes, we have refused to use the word corruption." He said, "And the corruption in the public and private sector is bigger than the corruption in the public sector." And we all agree that although that word corruption was not being used, but it's better to use it because that is what is happening in the private sector.
I'd like to come in here, sir.
Yes.
Because when you started off, you said, look, it's the government that creates an enabling environment.
Yes.
Nigeria hasn't had it, hasn't been ranked tops in amongst the countries where you find ease of doing business.
Yes.
So top in the scheme of things for corporate governance to continue to accelerate, like you've attributed it to the private sector. But top of it is the fact that there has to be an enabling environment provided by the government. Now, what would you say is responsible largely for the lack of ease of doing business in Nigeria?
You see, it has to do with human beings. Corporate governance is about interplay of power between the different organs of a company, because the company is an artificial person. The same thing with a state. The state called Nigeria is an artificial entity. There is no person called Nigeria. So people act for Nigeria. And what are the people that are supposed to act for Nigeria? Oh, the legislators to make laws, the executive to execute the laws, and the judiciary to do what? To interpret the laws. Now, once the three organs are not functioning very well, and they don't know their roles, their functions, their interplay of power, then there will be failure of governance in the public space. The same way a company is an artificial person. People must act for it. So you have the shareholders, you have the directors, you have the management, and you have the agent. The interplay of power is what causes the company to move forward or to be stagnant or to die. So if you say that in the case of Nigeria, oh, why are we having the challenge? It's very simple. It's simple. If somebody is in the executive and he doesn't know why he's in the executive, he's not going to do what he's supposed to do. If a legislator does not know why he is in the parliament to make laws for the good governance, is he going to make that law? If he doesn't make that law, can the executive execute a law that is not made? Then let's assume the law was made. The executive executed. Cases go to court. How is our judiciary functioning? Do we have fast track of cases? Can you confidently say, oh, this person breached my contract. I'm going to take him to court and I'll get redress. If you breach my contract, I take you to court, and it took me 10 years to get redress. Do you know what that means?
In a corporate organization, you find people who simply do not know what they're supposed to do, like you rightly stated.
Yes.
And that could equally, bring the whole pack of cards down, crumbling. Because just even as little as one person out of 100 not knowing how to plug in the right plugs at the right places, this could crumble the entire card. But let's even take it a notch higher or much higher to the leadership of the organization. When, as the very popular saying goes, when the head is bad, the entire body would definitely be rotten. Bring it down to governance in Nigeria and trying to infuse, like you use the word, juxtapose corporate governance in the private sector, and then we're talking about it in the governance in Nigeria. One of the things that people have said has continued to hold us back is the qualification of who sits at the helm of the affair. And it has, generated several words on the street, words on social media, and traditional and conventional media will continue to evaluate it. The qualification of the president.
Let me answer that.
I'd like to get your
let me answer
what you
that.
make of the constitutional provision.
Let me answer that. You see, and that's why I said, if you understand corporate governance from the corporate view,
it will be very simple.
Yes. Now, you have many companies that you have board members. Mm-hmm. The board members are not supposed to be the most qualified. But the law says, arm yourself with those who know. Mm-hmm. So that those who know will tell you what to do, then you are able to tell the management. The president, no matter who that president is, he cannot know everything. If he is a finance expert, he's not a lawyer.
Well, shouldn't there be like a measurement?
Just hold on. You see, he's not a lawyer. So, and for you to govern a country very well, you must understand the rule of law. So, what we need is a president that understands that I have power and the authority to surround myself with those who know what to do, and I make the call. because it's supposed to be making of a call. Let me give you a corollary of it in a company. In a company, the MD may know more than the board members, which is what happened. Let's say aviation. The MD is a captain. He's a trained pilot. Those who form the company just have money to form the company. They don't know anything about aviation. They don't know much. How will that company not fail? It is for the board members to go and get those who understand aviation to be advising them so that they can checkmate the MD and what will be his excesses or what can become his weaknesses. Because it can be there can be excesses and there can be weaknesses on behalf of that MD. Because it takes a man who knows to lead another man
So
who
are you
knows.
justifying the fact that it has been said that you can just you just need to be a secondary school SAT holder to become the president of Nigeria?
You see,
Are you saying that that's justifiable?
You see, when you say, am I justifying? The word justifying means...
Because you can just be a...
No, the word justifying means, did I partake in making that law? Have you read our constitution?
I have.
Beautiful. If you read it,
Yes.
the preamble says, we the people of Nigeria.
Yes.
So, let me ask you a question. You are the journalist.
Yes.
I'm your guest. Was there any time the people of Nigeria gathered together to give themselves a constitution?
Well, there were times
From
when
the
the
day,
people gathered
from the day you were born.
There were times when the people gathered to make amendments, and that's why we have the constitution as amended.
There was no time when the people gathered to make constitution in Nigeria.
Okay.
And there was no time when the people gathered to make any amendment.
Okay.
The amendment to our constitution have been made by the politicians that we elected to the different House of Assembly.
The representative of the people.
And you see, the constitution is a ground norm. We didn't elect them to go and change the constitution. We elected them to go and make laws in accordance to the constitution that is already existing. That's why there is a school of thought in Nigeria that for you to amend constitution, let us have a different constituent assembly.
Okay.
Their job is to do what? To amend the constitution. Not to make laws.
I see.
Yes, the parliament make laws in accordance to the power given to it by the constitution. Those whose power was given by the constitution, they are the parliamentarians.
So that we'll get things straight and right perspective.
Yes.
I just want to know where you stand directly in simple terms on the qualification.
It has been put there.
Yes.
You see, it's a constitutional provision.
Yes.
Are you getting what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's what? I didn't put it there. You didn't put it there. They didn't seek our
But it has since generated debate. It has since generated argument and advocacy for it to be changed or somewhat, some amendment done to it. I'd like to know, as an expert in corporate governance and as an expert, what your thoughts would be on that particular.
You see, qualification. You see, qualification.
Yes.
You see, the qualification they put in the Constitution is for all of us to engage. Are you getting what I'm saying? To engage. When I mean to engage, it means that we look at it, who do we want to have as our president, as a people? The basic minimum qualification. Is he an HND? Is he a BSc? Is he a MSc? Are you getting what I'm saying?
I do understand.
So, you see, until we have an assembly that is summoned for such kind of discussion, you see, I don't believe, this is my own school of thought. My school of thought is very simple. In our country, I don't listen to those who come to the public space to tell us what has been the problem of Nigeria since 1970. The NBA, Nigeria Bar Association, had their annual conference some few weeks ago. They brought one of our young writers, and I listened to what she was saying. And I told them in my platform, I said, can you go and look into Suffer Head by Fela in 1980? As far back as 1980, Fela sang about water, light, food, house, and leadership. See, there is no water. Despite the fact that we have abundance of rain, there is no light. Despite that we have abundance of sunshine, there is no house. That they are saying that we are going to wait for United Nations in 1990 to give us a house. There is no food. We are importing rice from America. We are importing rice from Thailand. We are importing Uncle Ben's.
So if you know all of
just
this,
hold on, sir. Just hold on. Let me finish. Yeah, let me finish.
I'd like us to
so,
have a
and he said that is leadership issue. So, what I always engage people is, if you want to engage me in public discussion, let us engage in solutions. Because the problem Nigeria has been there since the 70s. It has not changed. Okay. Are you getting what I'm saying? Okay, so anytime they say Japa, I say there was an advert in 1982. Andrew, no checkout. Go and check it. Yes. So there is no new phenomenon in Nigeria. What has happened is that we have not engaged, our public space have not engaged in solution.
We need to take a very quick break here. You have not succeeded you've succeeded in avoiding the answer to the question anyway, but I don't know if you've succeeded in convincing or confusing our audience about whether or not the minimum qualification to be a president in Nigeria is school sat, whether that is favorable or
but I'm asking you, didn't you have a president that has a PhD?
Let's take a break, sir.
Didn't you have a president that had a PhD?
After this break, we'll continue.
Okay.
A round of. Stay with us. The show will continue in just a moment. Welcome back. We're still with Pastor Adebisi Bismarck Akintoye, the author of, what's the book again?
Practical Guide on Corporate Governance.
Practical Guide on Corporate Governance. And we're talking about corporate governance, the Nigerian phenomenon, and we're trying to juxtapose it with government, the Nigerian government itself, and how corporate governance is or should be run in the public sector. Because when you talk about corporate governance, you basically will be talking about it from the private sector angle. But just before the break, we were talking about the educational qualification of the leader or the MD, the chairman CEO of the entity called Nigeria. And I said, look, there's been questions and arguments about the minimum qualification being, school sat. And I asked if you were okay with that, and I did say that several answers you provided didn't seem to me like a very direct answer. You still want to harp on that?
Well, it's not direct because I told you we didn't make that constitution. Okay. So you can't hold me responsible for what I did not do.
And I did say, as a corporate expert, do you think it's okay?
The qualification, is it okay? Yes or no? I would say, well, I'm indifferent. Why? Because in the history of this country, we have had a PhD holder heading this country. What is your experience of the PhD holder? So are we looking for academic qualification or competence?
So do you think the PhD holder at the time who ruled the country did not rule well or ruled well?
No, you see, I don't have an opinion on that because I am very careful about in the public space.
I'm the interviewer.
Yes, the interviewee. I don't have an opinion on that. Why? Because you see, when you deal with the generality of public, there are certain things you don't say in the public space.
Okay, I see.
I have my own private opinion about that administration.
Okay, because
but it's for the people to answer,
I totally understand. I want to believe that he's talking about Goodluck Ebele Jonathan at the time when we had someone with that qualification, educational qualification ruling the country.
I was actually excited to have him come in.
Yes. So what do you think about the administration of President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan as a doctorate degree, a PhD holder?
It's PhD holder.
PhD holder at the time, ruling. Do you think it was fair, good, better, or not at all?
And let me drive it home. You know, our governors. Have we not had professors as governor from 1960? Remember, in Second Republic, we have some professors who were governors. Okay, even this dispensation from 1999, we have had professors.
Good.
We once had a professor, I think, as the governor of Ebonyi State. Do you remember? A mathematician. What did he do in Ebonyi?
I should be asking you.
You see, that's why I said, in your recruitment, you see, in public governance recruitment, what are we looking out for?
Okay, let's bring it back, because I was going to say, I can understand one treading his words carefully and talking about the administration, especially as it has come, as it is right now in Nigeria, and as it has come and gone. But let's look ahead, forging ahead, throttling on. 2023, we've got contenders who are saying they're looking at the corporate entity called Nigeria, and they are saying they are coming to head. Now, the major contenders, if you may, four of them, Kwankwaso, Peter Obi, Tinubu, and Atiku. Whom would you say is the most qualified, or how? Let me if I ask you whom would you say is the most qualified, you might want to say a way out of that. But how would you evaluate their qualifications, make an evaluation of theirs?
To be honest with you, I would say that is a people's parliament.
Yes.
Okay. If you want to recruit somebody who says he wants to give you a clothes, look at the one he's wearing. Number one, the man who is faithful in little will be faithful in much. Number two, if a man says he's a success, ask yourself, can there be a success without a successor? Ask yourself. Number three. Number four, ask yourself, these four contenders we have said, are they new to us? There is nobody that is new. And none of them is from a strange political configuration. The four, as I will analyze it, they've always come from two species. The PDP and the old Alliance for Democracy. So there is nothing new. So what Nigerians should do, don't be emotional. If you're emotional, you're going to make a wrong choice. And there is nothing bad in it. That's democracy. Majority have always not made the right choice in life. So I don't have issues with majority saying they want to go left, because majority don't usually get it right. But they must have their way.
I sincerely would have asked
and minority will have a say.
I sincerely would have asked you if you would go right or left, but I know that's a question that would not, get an answer out of Pastor Akintoye Bismarck. It's been wonderful having you on the show today. Before we go, I'd like to take a look at your book. Where is this book? Can we have that book that would be launched on Friday?
Yes.
That's Friday. That's the book.
Yes.
Practical
Guide to Corporate Governance. And the chairman of the launch is Professor Ayo, Charles Ayo, the former Vice Chancellor of Covenant University and the pioneer Vice Chancellor of Trinity University. And if I tell you why I chose the man as my chairman, you'll be amazed. He was in Covenant, he did well. And when it was his time to go, he left and now started on his own university. And I told him, that is good. Because you were an employee before, now everything you learned, you went to start your own with other investors with you. For me, it shows a man who wants to move from one level to another level. And that's what we
Would you
need.
think the same of Ahmed Yusuf Datti, the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party? Would you think the same of him as a man who wants to go from one level
My
to
thought of him is very simple. He's a capitalist, and he has gone to a socialist party. That's a fundamental disconnect.
round peg and square hole?
As the core places.
Final word on the show today, sir.
Well, I'm happy to be here. I am happy too. You brought me to where the people are. And because I'm a pastor, I have a congregation across the length and breadth of this country. So I cannot but minister to all of them and give them the opportunity to make their choices, because the choice is theirs. All I can do is to give them the what you call the nudges for you to take your decision. And like I said, the majority will always have their way. The minority will always have their say. And democracy is about the majority.
It is always said that one with God is a majority.
Because the minority of God is majority.
However, in democracy, well, in broadcasting, we say the voice of the people is the voice of God.
Voice populi, voice
Dei. Voice populi. And we want to also encourage Nigerians to ensure that you get your PVCs and make your choice come February 20.
Not only to get their PVC,
yes,
but to vote on that day.
Vote on that day. Pastor, I want to say a very big thank you. We started with a handshake. It won't be wrong to end with another handshake.
I'm happy to be here, and I look forward to come very soon.
Thank you very much. Well, there you have it. That's how it's been on today's episode of We the People. Remember, it's a program where we bring you discussions pertaining to the people, whatever is happening around you. We would be here to bring you all the sides, all the facts on that matter. If you forget anything you've heard on the show today, do not forget my name, Marshall Anthony Onoye. Leave a comment. Remember to subscribe to the channel and also share this channel. God bless you.